In this video, I'm going to show you my top 10 kettlebell essentials tools that I've been using that have elevated my kettlebell game over the last couple of years. It's the list that I have compiled after working out with kettlebells for a very long time, so it's based in experience. And I want to show you this list in chronological order based on importance. Some of these items might be worth getting right now, and others can wait a little bit longer as you continue down the line of your kettlebell journey. Some of these tools might be more important later on. And if you're over 40 and you want to become strong, fit, and lean without going to the gym, download my free ebook in the first link in the description. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe Stark here. Let's waste no time and jump right into this list. Number one is the Pro Kettlebell. Well, you need a kettlebell to get started with kettlebell training. And I believe the Pro Kettlebell is the Ferrari of kettlebells. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive than your regular old kettlebells from everybody else, from all those competitors that are on the market. At the end of the day, I believe it has to be a hollow core kettlebell. This is where you get the best flow feeling out of it. And these arm pockets of the Pro Kettlebell are just awesome. It's ergonomically shaped in a way that it's a little bit smaller than a standard competition kettlebell. The handle, the texture finish is awesome. It is a little bit more tacky, a little bit more grippy. The hollow core is big, which means when you put the kettlebell down and you do exercises like, for example, the Renegade row, you're stable and you can attach a magnetic weight chip inside your kettlebell, and then all of a sudden you have two kettlebells. I would say the magnetic weight chip is in that number one category, because if you get started, for example, as a woman with an 8 kg, you're going to outperform that 8 kg pretty fast if you follow it the way we suggest you follow the kettlebell or follow the programming. And then a 10 kg might be worth your time afterwards. And then once you have that magnetic weight chip at your disposal already, you snap it in and you're ready to go. With men, it is a similar situation, but not kind of the same, because a man can jump or can use a 4 kg increment jump. So jumping from a 12 to a 16 might make sense. But when you go a little bit heavier, there might be this great tool of using the 2 kg increments once again. So a kettlebell from the Pro Kettlebell, the magnetic weight chip, they are worth your time. And by the way, all the tools that I'm listing in this video, you can find them in the link in the description. Many of these tools are Amazon links, which come with a kickback. So if you purchase from that link, you are going to make me rich. Isn't that awesome? Then we have number two, the WOD Welder. Now, what I like about the WOD Welder is it is a 3-step hand care kit. So as a first step, you have a pumice stone where you have to file down your calluses. Now, how do calluses work in kettlebell training? Calluses build up naturally, right? That's fine. But you don't want them to become these little molehills on the root of your fingers most of the time. And then once they become these little molehills, they start popping when you continue working with kettlebells. So, and what I do is sometimes when I prepare for a training, I file it before and afterwards. Then you have the beeswax. The beeswax is your first aid kit for hands that have gotten a little bit of a beating. And then you use aloe vera, that cream at the end. Do not use the beeswax and the aloe vera before training, because then you are making it worse. You have to have a tacky grip when you work with the kettlebell, and nothing's worse than having a kettlebell slip inside your palm. So number three is flooring. Now, many of you are training at home. And when you train at home, you have to protect your floor. So the floor that we use is 2 centimeter thick flooring that can protect the floor and the kettlebell. It's not just about the floor, and it's not just about the kettlebell. It's also about being able to drop the kettlebell safely and controlled. And when you have a heavy kettlebell and you drop it from the clean or the overhead position into the backswing and you drop it on the floor, and you always have to be very careful because it's marble flooring or whatever, then you always have to use some additional effort to drop the weights on the floor, which is just a nuisance. That's why solid flooring also makes sense. Make sure it has that 2 centimeter thick width. Then number 4 is shoes. Now, many of you have asked about our shoes. Where do we get them from and how can you purchase them? Well, we don't sell them online. We only give them to our clients once they get started with our coaching right here at the gym. And I found on Amazon the exact same model that I was using. So that's the link that you have down in the description. However, please be careful. I do not know if it's actually the shoes that I have. They look exactly the same like the ones that I have, but it might be a different one. So be careful on that front. Then number 5, wrist guards. Now, wrist guards are important, especially for beginners. Part of the territory and part of the law of kettlebell training that you might get some bruises or some bumps on your forearms or on your shoulders. And the shoulder is not that much of an issue when you clean the bell up. It might be, but it's not the biggest one. The biggest issue is always the forearms. And so I want you to continue training when you have a little bit of iffy forearms. However, we have also some clients, they always pull those wrist guards on when they train. That's fine as well. The downside of it is that you always have the possibility to circumvent the need to learn the proper technique, because when the kettlebell crashes on your forearm, you don't feel it. Number 6 on the list, the Apple Watch or any type of smartwatch will do. I like the Apple Watch Ultra because I can segment the workouts, I can track my heart rate, and I'm going to explain this a little bit. So why would you choose a smartwatch to train? Now, I just recently got into this idea of heart rate training. I'm going to just give you the bird's eye perspective. I've done a couple of videos about that topic. So what happens when you train according to heart rate? When you divide your training into a very basic programming or segmentation, then you say, I want to focus on speed, strength, and hypertrophy, and I want to focus on endurance. And these physical qualities are diametrically opposed to each other. And so how can you make sure that you don't mix them up too much? Even though you can mix them up, it's called strength endurance to a certain extent. The kettlebell is special on that front. But at the end of the day, once you have achieved training maturity, you always want to maybe focus on one thing more than the other. And so if you want to focus on strength, hypertrophy, and speed, you always want to make sure that your central nervous system is relaxed or recuperated enough. And I track my heart rate for this. So if I have a very intense set, my heart rate jumps up to 170, 180, and then I'll wait for my heart rate to come back to 150, and then I'll go at it again. This tells me that my central nervous system has been recuperated, so I can put more tension into the exercise, which means my prime movers get more stimulus, more work done, which means I get more results. If I use the endurance method, where I want to build my endurance, then I don't care if my heart rate is up in the 170s and 180s, because I want to build tolerance towards fatigue. So tracking your heart rate with a smartwatch makes sense. How can I use the Apple Watch without destroying it in the process or the kettlebell? I'm using a magnetic wristband, this thing right here. It's awesome. And I use it to wrap it around my ankle. And guess what? It tracks the heart rate pretty fine, pretty great. A client of mine purchased it, and he purchased 2, because if you have a big ankle, you might need both of those longer sides. You attach both longer sides on your Apple Watch, and then you can snap it around your ankle. And what I love about the Apple Watch, which I'm assuming your smartwatch probably has too if you use another one or a different one, is you can segment your workout, which means you can track your time, how long you train. You can track how long your workout takes. You can track everything with the flick of a button. You just press one button and you immediately see where's my heart rate, how long have I been training, how long is my segment of the kettlebell, how long is my body weight segment, how long is my endurance segment, or whatever. So I like to segment my workouts, and then at the end of the day, I can then check in my fitness app how much time did I spend in that individual segment and how was my heart rate variability. Then we have wristbands. So I've started using wristbands in my working sets with heavy kettlebells for one reason, or one exercise is responsible as to why I'm using wristbands, and that is the double half snatch. The double half snatch with double 24s and double 26s, it's really hard on my wrist when I snatch it overhead into the top fixation, because I don't like the feeling that I get. With a single 32, I don't have that issue, but with doubles, it just happens. It might also be the reason, which I'm assuming is that I have to improve my technique. But other than this, I just want to attach my wristband and I'm good. And I can just focus on the exercise without being too much concerned of the issue that I get or the discomfort that I get on my forearms. That's the reason why I'm using wristbands. It's for one particular exercise, the double half snatch. And then when I wear it, I don't take it off. I don't take it off for another exercise. I just keep it unless I'm using singles. And number 9 is supplements. So many of you are asking, what type of supplements am I taking? I have a very simple formula. I take whey protein as my main supplement in the morning and in the evening, 2 scoops each. And this just helps me to upgrade my protein intake without adding too much calories, because you can say, well, you can eat that, right? Yes, but if I eat that amount of protein, the issue that I then get most of the time is I get too much unwanted and unnecessary calories attached to these proteins, which then makes me fat, and I don't want that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using the whey protein, and it's been proven that this stuff works, and it also makes it a little bit easier. Then number 10 is creatine. Now, creatine can help you crank out a couple of more reps at the end of your set when you're getting tired if you are a good responder. We have seen studies have shown that some people respond well to creatine and other people don't respond. And what you can do is just, give it a shot. It's not that expensive. And then you'll see if it works or not. And if you check the link in the description, I've found a whey protein and creatine combo. And by the way, if you are from the EU, I also have all of these Amazon links from the EU curated in the description as well. And we can add on that front, if we talk about supplements, that I'm also using some vitamins, some omega-3s, some sport vitamins, some stuff for my joints, just some basics that I take on a daily basis. And my doc recently recommended another supplement to me to calm my nerves a little bit at the end of the day. And now the bonus that just crossed my mind as I was filming this video is chalk. Now, chalk is a two-edged sword. If you are getting started with kettlebells, do not use chalk whatsoever, because the first thing that you need is to have a proper technique before you're using chalk. If you use chalk without technique, you're going to turn your hands into hamburger meat. It rhymes, which means it is true. Now, learn proper technique first. Once you understand technique, however, this means you're able to do more reps. You are able to put more reps in the clean, in the snatch, in the swing, or whatever, especially the ballistics. And what then happens is you might sweat a lot. You might perspirate on your palm, and then the kettlebell starts slipping inside your palm. And that's the worst thing that can happen, because any given moment, you are concerned about the kettlebell slipping outside your hands, killing your pet, or destroying the wall, or hitting your girlfriend in the process. And you want to avoid this most definitely. And this is where chalk comes in. So chalk gives you the ability to train for longer sets of time, because it's a little bit more tacky, which means the kettlebell doesn't flip around inside your palm. But here's the key. If you don't understand, for example, in the hand insertion, to jump back and forth between these two grips, and you're always sliding back and forth, you're going to destroy your skin. It's not about sliding, it's about jumping. But that's another topic for another video. And by the way, I've done countless videos on the hand insertion. And then you can decide, am I using powder chalk or am I using liquid chalk? I have seen liquid chalk is better, more tacky, Also a little bit tougher on the hands. And powder chalk is not that tacky, less tough on the hands, but also doesn't give you that much grip. So you have to, I've seen athletes who use both. I have used both in my competition that I did when I got Master Sport in February. And that was okay. But at the end of the day, sometimes I don't even use chalk in my training. But it depends. Some people sweat like crazy. They have to use chalk all the time, and other people don't, or other people are somewhere in between. So that's it. That's my list. 11 powerful tools and essentials that you can use for your training, which are going to elevate your kettlebell journey once you really want to make the most out of your kettlebell training. This is where probably a couple of these tools might come in handy. And I've said it again, you'll find the links to all these relevant products in the description. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Clean and press that like and subscribe button. Share with a friend who's also interested in kettlebells. And if you made it this far, download my free ebook in the first link in the description called the Kettlebell Code. If you're over 40, 50, or 60, you don't have a lot of time, but you still want to take care of your fitness, this is where the kettlebell comes in. And I'm going to show you a shortcut to success. So what are you waiting for? Download that ebook right now in the first link in the description on the pinned comment.